We're going to use the Paths tool basically for drawing lines and selecting areas we want to fill with either a colour or a pattern. So I'm just going to show you how that tool works. Now, to start every path, we're going to need to obviously select the Paths tool, but over here under the Tool Options tab, we need to be in design mode to be able to mark places we want the path to go through. Which I mean, we're going to click wherever we want the path to be, and then say I want it to curve around up here. I'm going to click at the next point it changes direction, and like each end of path I'm going to click at. So say I've done something like that. We can then go into the edit mode and we can drag each of these bits out into this shape we want it to be, just by clicking and dragging. And we can do that anywhere we want along the path, and once we've got it the right shape, you just unclick and it stays there. So say I wanted a shape something like this. That's how it's going to work. And once we've got the path as we want it to be, we can then stroke that path either using a solid colour of a fixed pixel width, like I've got here set to 10 pixels, which if we stroke that and get rid of those markers so I can see it, this is what we get. We get a solid line that's the same thickness everywhere it's gone through, which is absolutely fine. What I am going to do when we're drawing faces is I'm going to stroke it using this ink tool sometimes. You don't need to do that, but if I just show you how that's going to work, we would set the ink tool to the size we want it to be. Let's take it down to 10 so that it matches the last one, and I'll create another path in design mode so that we can see what it does. So let's just edit that, give it a couple of curves. Certainly doesn't have to be exactly the same shape, but it will give us a comparison of what happens. And we can now stroke that path with a paint tool, and we're going to use the ink, and we want to emulate brush dynamics, and this is going to give it a taper at either end. So if we stroke that and get rid of the markers in the way, you can see what that's done. Particularly if I zoom in, now you can see how this tapers off towards the end to make it look more like a calligraphy sort of pen stroke than this one does. This is the same thickness all the way along, and that isn't. So that's just a little touch that we can add if we want to using the pen tool. If we create a closed path using the pen tool in design mode, say for an eyebrow for example, we're going to just click, click, click and click, and zoom in, and then we'll click really close to the starting point, and we can edit that so that it matches the actual shape of the eyebrow that we're trying to trace. And we're then going to click selection from path, which you can see these marching ants have selected that area for us. So we can then choose a pattern, and I've given you an eyebrow pattern with the course, so that's going to make sense in this case. and we want to edit and fill that shape with the pattern like so. And if we select none and get rid of the markers, that's the eyebrow that we just created. So we're going to do that sometimes in faces to like get eyebrows, and we could have equally filled that with black or with white, which we're going to do sometimes too. So essentially that's all we're going to do with the pen tool. We mark lines we want to draw and areas we want to select.